Welcome to the Real Estate Show, brought to you by Capital One Group, LLC. Eric Willner, president of Capital One Group, LLC, is a highly trained financial professional. He helps clients to develop strategies for effectively utilizing real estate, mortgages, and related financial products to achieve a more secure financial future. For the real estate investor or the home buyer, he's able to provide expertise in matching the right properties and financing with your specific financial objectives. This show is dedicated to helping you find the safe and simple approach to buying income-producing real estate. If you have any questions about the program or to arrange a consultation, call toll-free 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. Now, today's edition of The Real Estate Show.
And hello, South Florida. Welcome to another live edition of The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program, Florida's longest running program. In fact, America's longest running daily radio show all about real estate. And on our program, we talk about all things real estate, from the properties to the techniques to buying the properties, how to manage them. And of course, that's because our main sponsor, Capital One Group, which has been our sponsor now for 17 years, is your main source for all of your real estate property management and support services. We invite you to give us a call. The toll-free number to reach us is 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. And we'll be happy to talk to you about any of your real estate ideas, thoughts, goals, dreams, or just some questions that you might have. We're here to help you. After all, that was the original goal of this radio program when it was set up 17 years ago, was to bring as much information, as much knowledge and techniques. And of course, speaking of techniques, we always call our Tuesday tips and techniques. And today I'm going to talk about the 3 highest priorities that a real estate investor ought to be focusing on. In fact, those are the 3 highest and best uses of their time. And if you're not doing these 3 things on a consistent basis, then you're not making consistent money. If you're not doing them at all, then you're probably not making any money at all. And as I often mention, that you got to treat this like a business. And I don't mean that in a hardcore work way, because real estate offers a type of a lifestyle that really is unmatched in any other area. When we start talking about some of the lifestyle possibilities that come from real estate, and I'm not just talking about the most important one, which might be retirement, the ability to take your foot off the accelerator pedal and to be able to enjoy your time and the time with the people that you love the most, as opposed to punching the clock, from 9 to 5 every day. When you start looking at some of the quality of life issues that are available to you through real estate, then you really begin to understand why we're so passionate and so adamant about it. And perhaps we will speak a little bit more about those in the coming weeks. But today, as I mentioned, I want to talk about the ultimate goal here is to create an income, a steady stream of income from a passive business that allows you to do that. And you do that by focusing on these 3 highest priorities. And and it's funny because the reason that people come to me very often, I hear certain things like, they've been investing ever since they started out in, graduating from college, went and got their first job, and whether they're climbing out of a hole, for example, from student loans and the cost of going to school, or whether they were lucky enough not to incur lots of student loans, but trying to save on, the entry level salaries. It's amazing that by accident, people try to save with what's left over, and by accident, some people are successful, most of whom own real estate. But when you take a look at things and how you could possibly do that on purpose, then you have the ability to create really that walk away kind of freedom that you have. Now, the highest priorities that we want to talk about today, number 1, of course, is to find the properties. And like in any investment, and I hear people who talk to me about that they're upset with last year's performance. They're upset with the previous 10 years' performance. And many investments in the stock market have done nothing since over the last 10 years. In fact, many are still looking at coming to breaking even. People now are taking more responsibility for their investments, and that's a good thing. And I really enjoy working with people who have that sense of responsibility, who have that sense of trying to be more involved and understand and be more committed to the outcome, because the market is in a very good place right now, and I think that the opportunities in real estate are very good. How do you prevent the that cycle from recurring? Well, you got to be involved in it. There's always room to learn a little bit more in real estate. There's always room for you to learn a little bit more in whatever field you're in. But none of that begins until you take the responsibility to do the learning and have an open mind and understand it. Maybe there is something that that you don't know, or maybe there is something that you heard before that might not necessarily be the truth. We have found over the years, particularly if you are an entrepreneur in any sense of the word, if you have tried to go out in business for yourself, you get a lot of people that will tell you all the reasons why what you're doing is crazy, all the reasons why what you're doing won't work. They'll tell you the stories of who they knew and how they failed, and they'll always try. And I think part of it, and a lot of it comes from the people that you know and that you love, and that's the sad part, because I think there are two things that are at work. Number one, I think they legitimately want to make sure that you don't get hurt and that you don't fall down, and that you're not um, injured in any way. But the fact is that nothing risked, nothing gained. A ship that's anchored in the harbor goes nowhere, and so part of it I think is legitimate. Part of it is real concern, but more of it I think has to do with the concept of misery loves company. And a lot of times people will tell you all the reasons why things don't work, because maybe it didn't work for them, or maybe they didn't work, and the outcome that they were looking for didn't happen. And so as a result, they don't want you to go out there and be the one to show them that they didn't perhaps do the full effort. And so, like I said, a lot of times misery loves company, and sometimes the entrepreneur needs to confide only in those people that are supportive, and only maybe those people that are walking down the same path. And that's why going to real estate meetings with other like-minded investors, and you'll find, by the way, when you go to these meetings, these are very positive people, very proactive people, people who have hopes and dreams that they're not willing to let go of. And in many cases, they're there without their spouses, they're there without their friends, because they don't relate. They may like to socialize with certain people, but when it comes to business, when it comes to the long-term hopes and dreams, they need to be out there on their own or hanging out with other like-minded individuals. And so anyway, that's just more of a psychological conversation about that, because without that open mind and without that openness to possibilities, it's going to be very difficult. And the other reason why a lot of people come to us about this conversation is because they're worried about their retirement. We talked about the 10 times your retirement strategy. I mean, we talked yesterday about the financial literacy, and if I could only talk to more individuals at the college level that would set out, and we talked about that if a college student, instead of renting when he came out of college, bought his first property, would cost exactly the same amount that he pays to rent a property, lives in there for 5 years, and then bought a second property, rents out the first one, and only every 5 years. Think about that. That's a long time in between. But once every 5 years, he buys a property, and or she, and then they live in that property for 5 years, and then buy another one. And each time, now remember, by the end of the year, 10th year, you have two properties. I'm sorry, you're on your third property now. And the first one is now 10 years into the mortgage. The second one is 5 years into the mortgage pay down. By the end of 30 years, okay, that means that you would be on your sixth house. You would have the first one free and clear, and you would have 6 or 7 houses at this point. And at that point, every 5 years, you're paying off a property. And by the time you reach 67, which of course is eligible now for Social Security, you would have a number of houses free and clear. In fact, I had a note here. By the time you were 67, you would have 5 houses free and clear. And imagine if by then, okay, that they started at 22. We're talking about now 45 years later. You have 7 houses in total, of which 4 of them are now free and clear. One more going to be done in 5 years. You have at those 5 free and clear houses, if they only, and that's at today's rent, we're earning $2,000 a month in rent. That would be $10,000 a month in monthly income eternally, regardless of whether Social Security is solvent or not solvent. And you wouldn't even have to plan or depend or worry about Social Security. So let's get back to the priorities that I was talking about. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break. Here are a few words from our sponsors. After all, you are listening to The Real Estate Show. My name is Eric Willner. Don't touch that dial. The important stuff is yet to come.
I said, damn, this traffic jam. Well, there you are, sitting in traffic like thousands of other motorists listening to Eric Willner's Real Estate Show. Here's a thought. If you're listening, so are potential customers and clients. Radio advertising works. So become an advertiser or sponsor guest on Eric's show. Get your message heard. Call 1-888-595-7779. That's 1-888-595-7779. Your customers and clients are waiting to hear from you. Said, damn, this traffic jam. Call 1-888-595-7779.
Today's real estate market is full of questions. Eric Willner and Capital One Group LLC have the answers. Call today for a no-obligation consultation and get the facts. 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. You'll learn the safe and simple approach to buying income-producing real estate. And you'll find out how to get the right real estate investments for your specific investment objectives. Plus, you'll have immediate access to cutting-edge mortgage and financing products. Be sure to ask about free property management on select investment properties. Call today for your no-obligation consultation and get the facts. 888-595-7779. Toll free, 888-595-7779.
Hello, listeners. This is Eric Willner, your host of The Real Estate Show. Exciting news. We now have a Facebook page. Now, this is an opportunity for us to share with you photos and videos and interviews and lots more information on a regular basis on our Facebook page. But to make it really exciting, we want your input. We want your comments, and most of all, we want your likes. And that will make us a much better radio show, and our Facebook page will be a real resource for you. So check us out at facebook.com/The Real Estate Show. That's facebook.com/The Real Estate Show. And give us a thumbs up.
Are you paying for a home that is losing value every month? Do you owe $400,000 and your home is worth only $300,000 and still dropping? Do you want to know more about what the government is doing to help you? You have options. Don't just give up or walk away. Know your rights. Fight back. Fistel Law Firm can help you. Call for a free consultation today. 954-522-1212. 954-522-1212. Or on the web, fistel.com.
This is The Real Estate Show, brought to you by Capital One Group LLC in Boca Raton with your host, Eric Willner. If you have any questions about the broadcast, call toll-free, 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. Now, back to today's show.
And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you are listening to The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program and America's longest-running daily radio show all about the topic of real estate. And in today's program, I was talking about the 3 highest priorities. You know, in real estate, you hear an expression that the highest and best use of the land is, and then whether it's in a residential community or a commercial area, you know, you can't put a house in a commercial district because you won't get the maximum value or the maximum rent or any of the maximum anything. So, but the same thing goes for an investor's time. And there are 3 things. And I spend a lot of time coaching, mentoring, and counseling investors of all walks, whether they be brand new, fresh to the business, or others that are been in the business for a while. And it's easy to be busy. It's hard to know what to do to be productive. And there's a difference between being busy and productive. The outcome, the result, the bottom line is what counts. And there are three things that a real estate investor must be working on if he's going to be successful and if he's going to make any money. If you're not doing these three things, I guarantee you you're not making any money. You know, and I'm not talking about investors who already have rental properties. I'm talking about investors who are trying to buy, make, rehab, fix properties. And first of all, priority number one, because without this, and it seems obvious, but this is what the first and most important initial activity that an investor must do is to be finding properties, setting up marketing channels, whether it be realtors that send them properties, whether it be direct mail that has people calling into them, whether it be driving for dollars, which means getting in your good old-fashioned car and driving through good old-fashioned neighborhoods, writing down signs, taking note of addresses. And today, with the number of technological tools, this has become even more important and more productive. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I talked about a couple of instances where literally you could parachute me in just about any city in the United States with the technological tools that I have and a couple of software programs and even some of the spreadsheets that I designed myself, that you can find the right areas to be looking in to begin with. Where is the most fertile soil to plant this business, and then be able to find certain hidden gems, because not every property has a sign in the front yard saying, hey, I'm for sale. There are a lot of properties that have signs that they should be for sale, and it takes a little bit of work to find them or to generate that inflow of leads of properties to buy. But number one, the most important thing, if there are no properties that you're working on, then you're not working on anything. Seems kind of obvious, but the most important thing is helping to find properties. And we have a great list of properties coming our way all the time, consistently. So if you're an investor and that's a challenge to you, perhaps then you want to write down our phone number and you want to set up an appointment, because we can probably put you in contact with a number of properties, and we'll talk more about that. But so priority number one is to find the properties. And like I said, that's probably the most important thing. It is probably the most obvious thing to do, and yet it is one of the things that people procrastinate the most and seem to put off, avoid. They spend more time setting up corporations, setting up websites, making pretty business cards, and doing all these things, when the bottom line is get to the source, go to the source, and buy the source. The second thing, the second highest priority that an investor should be focusing on once he has found whether it be a property, but preferably several properties. In fact, let me back off for a second, because one of the other things that I notice when an investor finally finds a property, the number one element of a property is not the property itself. It's not the square footage. It's not the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, but it is the seller motivated. If you're looking to buy a property at retail, go ahead, call up a realtor, look up the MLS, and take your pick. There's plenty of properties on the market right now, and even though there are plenty of properties on the market, they represent about 2.5% of the total properties out there. So you're really just scratching the surface. But the easiest way to buy a property, if you don't care about the price, if you just want to pay retail, is to go ahead and do it that way. But if you want to do a little bit of extra legwork, and you got to find the most important element in finding a property is finding a very motivated seller. And we've talked about on the program, and we'll talk about it more, what those elements of motivation are. But the motivation is really key. If there's no motivation, then you're really negotiating with yourself, because they're in no rush. You're in much more of a rush than they are. Find a steady stream of people who are out-of-state owners, landlords who are burned out, people getting divorced, people who are ill, people who have businesses that didn't work out, bankruptcy. I mean, there's 30 different sources of motivated sellers. Pick one, work that one vein until you've mastered it, and then add more. But that's it about finding the properties. Finding the properties is really a lot more about finding motivated sellers. And if you find motivated sellers, you'll find good deals. But one of the things that I also see is folks that find a property, focus all of their attention on the one property, and as a result of that, if it goes well, great. They're on the road. They're on the path now towards success. If anything goes wrong, if that one property delays in getting negotiated, if there is any hiccup, or if that property gets bought by somebody else, all of a sudden you're right back to square zero. And what I like to say is that now you're unemployed again because you have nothing else to work with, and you didn't create a steady stream of leads, of properties, of motivated sellers. So finding the property is very, very important. Finding a motivated seller is the most important part of that, finding the properties. And then the next thing you got to do is you got to evaluate the property, of course. You know, and if you work with me, you know very well how to evaluate the properties, how to figure out what the market value is, how to figure out what kind of repairs need to be done, how to factor in what you're willing to pay versus the marketplace, what you're willing or what you need to deduct in terms of the modifications, the construction, the repairs, and so forth, to bring it to one of the most desirable properties that it's competing with in the marketplace. And whether you do that or whether you sell it to somebody whose job is to rehab and fix up properties, you got to know that part too. So evaluating the properties is critical and an important fact. But it's a very easy process. I teach that to very new, uninitiated, never bought property before people. And once they kind of get the formula, and once you find the formula and you understand the formula, stick to the formula, because what gets more investors in trouble who find properties all excited, emotionally locked into what they're doing, and then they can't make the formula work and start justifying. You know what they say? A lot of times we make decisions based on emotions, and then we justify them with logic. And that's what we don't want to do. We want to make sure that what we're doing is we're following the formula, stick to the formula. The formula will keep you out of trouble. You may not get all the deals that you want, but believe me, it's the formula that's protecting you from that emotional impulse that we're trying to find and trying to employ in buying a property. So tip number one, finding a steady stream of motivated sellers of the properties. Tip number two, evaluating the properties the right way, making sure that you know how to make sure that you're doing the right analysis, getting the right comps, figuring out what you're going to pay as a percentage of what those comps are, because it depends on what marketplace you're after, is what you can pay. And here's the interesting thing, which is counterintuitive. The person who can pay the most for the property always wins the bid. And your job is to understand how much can you pay the most so that you win the bid and yet still remain profitable. So that's the conversation about evaluating properties. So you should be doing those two things. And the third thing that you must be doing if you're going to make money is you have to make offers. Sounds obvious, sounds very logical, right? But yet a lot of people will spend a lot of time in the paralysis of analysis, trying to figure out getting the exact perfect comps, and then maybe evaluating, doing the numbers, breaking it down to the cost per square foot, maybe even the cost per square inch. They'll go out and they'll price the latest price for paint. They'll price the latest cost, and there are very easy shortcuts to doing that, because this is a business where, you know, perfection is the enemy of production. This is a business where good is good enough. And the object of the game is to find more properties, evaluate more properties, and make more offers. And it is a numbers game, and some of those will work out, some of those won't. But the ones that do pay very, very well. We're talking about an asset in large numbers. So making the offers is the third step, and one of the most important steps, because now, you know, the offers that you make, some of them will get accepted. The ones that get accepted now become contracts, and those contracts, if you complete the process, lead to checks. No properties, nothing to evaluate. No evaluation, not good offers. And no offers, no checks. So those are the three most important priorities that you need to be focusing on, that you need to do. If you want to hear a rebroadcast of this radio program today, don't forget to check it out. We'll be posting this radio show again on our Facebook page, and you can find that by going to facebook.com/The The Real Estate Show with Eric Willner. We hope you enjoyed this program. Go to our Facebook page. Give us a thumbs up if you like the program, if you like the content, and we'll continue to provide it. And of course, we always love your suggestions, your feedback, and anything else that you want to send us there. We love the interaction that we have with our Facebook page. You can also listen to the show live as we air it Monday through Friday from 8 until 8:30 on our website at www.automaticlandlord.com. And of course, we always love to hear from you. Give us a call, 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, drive safe and make it a great day.
Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Show, brought to you by Capital One Group LLC in Boca Raton. Eric Willner and Capital One Group LLC are available to assist you with your financial needs. If you have any questions about today's program or to arrange a consultation, call toll-free at 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. And join us every day at the same time right here on AM 740 WSBR, South Florida's Money Talk Radio.